Especially when the wind blows, it can be 30.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know. Mike, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Are we online that people can hear us?
We are online. I went straight from Carol's retirement to straight to you, so we're off and running now.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see. We need.
Mike gonna join us?
I hope so.
He'll be on. He was at the other thing. And,
Okay.
Laura Smith was on it, so give her a couple minutes. She'll be back on.
Yeah, I don't think Lori's going to be on.
All right. I'll start the webinar to get all the attendees going in here.
Okay. Give me a count as to how many we have.
At the moment, let's see. We've got
5, 6, 7. They're coming on. 8. Coming as we talk.
Oh yeah, it's jumping, mate.
I can't imagine anybody's interested in this. I can't imagine what the issue might be.
My screen now shows 23, and it's moving up.
24 and growing. I no idea what could be the interest. Yeah.
Jim, you're muted.
I will ask him to unmute.
Jim, are you on a desktop? If you are, lower left-hand corner. And you'll see a red speaker with a line across it. Joanne, are you up here? Or are you?
I'm in Massachusetts.
Okay. Do you have a lot? You have a lot of snow where you are?
Oh, absolutely. I'd say almost 1.5 feet.
Whoa. Okay.
I know. My poor dog from Texas doesn't know what to do with herself. This is her first real big snow, so she's struggling a bit.
She'll get used to it. She'll love it before winter's over, I'm sure.
Yeah, but that day is not today, Kate.
Yeah, I can understand. My two looked at me this morning like, what? You want us to do what?
Well, poor thing. She finally went under the deck and peed.
Jim, if you could hear me, would you wave your hand? Can you hear me?
We should text him to go off and try to log on again. But we got tech support.
Okay, got my
There
picture.
he goes. There he goes.
There you go, buddy. We've got you on. Can you hear us, Jim?
Yeah, thanks to my wife. I can hear you. Can you hear me? No.
Yeah, we got you. You're there.
Okay, good. Somehow I pressed the right button. All right.
So,
Thank you.
So
Your
we're
patience.
just waiting. We're just waiting for Mike to get on.
I have enough.
Yeah, there was a retirement party this evening right before our
That's for Arlene or for Carol Cook?
For Carol Cook.
No, you can stay there. Yeah, I'm okay. I don't want.
So, Kate, okay. for those of you out there, if you by any chance sent emails to GRB advisory, there have been 4 of us who spent most of the afternoon trying to get into the site, and there's some technical problems. And the only email we received was one that was copied to the town manager, and she forwarded it. So if you did send an email, I apologize, we didn't see it, but you certainly can comment online.
So what is
All right.
GRB advisory?
Pardon me?
What is GRB advisory? I'm not familiar with that, Richard. What is it?
It is, if you look at the town's website, the beach advisory, it says to contact the committee. You can send an email to grbadvisory@gmail.com.
So does that bounce to you?
Pardon me?
Does that bounce to you then, or what?
No,
The problem is when they set up that email address, it was long, long ago, and none of us can seem to find the password. And even we found what we think was the password, we can't seem to log into it. So I
Yeah.
don't know what its issue is,
Well,
but it doesn't like us.
well, we can certainly delete it and set up a new one. That's crazy.
yeah, well, that's what Lori and I talked about that about a half an hour ago, and
All right, very good.
just got to delete it and set up a new one.
Exactly, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Good.
But for the purpose of this meeting, if there are any emails that pertain to items on the agenda, unfortunately, we didn't get them.
Okay.
All right, it looks as if everyone is here. Let me just take attendance. Kate Bauer-Burke,
Here,
John Dykstra,
Here,
Joanne Guston,
Here?
Jim Mulvihill,
Here,
Carol Sherman,
here.
Jennifer Wasserman,
Here.
Mike Weston, Richard Driver. All right, we have a full vote. Let me go to the agenda. The first item is the approval of the minutes for October 19th. They were circulated quite a while ago, and there were no comments or corrections. Anybody have any corrections now?
Nope.
Can I have a motion, please?
I move that we approve the minutes from the October meeting.
Second.
Okay, a motion approved to approve. Kate,
Aye.
John,
aye.
Joanne,
Aye.
Jim,
aye,
Carol,
Aye.
Jen,
Aye.
Mike,
Was that an aye, Mike?
Mike's, yeah, I can read his lips, he's muted, and I vote aye. All right,
Sorry.
our usual procedure is to open the meeting to the public for any items that are not on the agenda. So if any of you on the public are interested in commenting or questions, raise your hand. You can do it virtually or
We got Peter Delaney wants to say something.
alrighty. Is Peter, you online?
I am on. Can you hear me?
I can.
Good evening. Thanks for your time this evening. Appreciate it. My name's Pete Delaney. I really wanted to talk about the short-term rentals. Just make a quick comment on that, as I know a lot of folks have been talking through that. My wife Sue and I own 2 Kings Lane on Goose Rocks Beach, and kind of wanted to add to the conversation.
Richard, this is not.
Yeah. Yes, Peter, I don't mean to cut you off, but
Okay.
it was
yeah, we're talking.
it was raised in the last meeting as well, and it is something that is before the Board of Selectmen, and it is beyond our mandate.
Okay. All right. I was hoping to get it in. I couldn't make the last call, so I just wanted to speak. For
Yeah,
a few minutes.
the place to address any comments, criticisms, questions is the Board of Selectmen.
Or send us an email.
Okay, that's fair, Mike. I'll send you an email. Thank you.
Mike, anyone else?
Negative.
Okay, back to the agenda. The issue of the dune grass at the west end. Carol, you've had some communication with Rachel Carson finally.
Finally.
Have found a live person there who would respond?
Yeah, well, sort of. I went down there and they wouldn't answer the door, but long story, I did find them. And the girl's name is Kate O'Brien, and she wants very much to cooperate with protecting the dune grass. Actually, it was a big thanks to Werner Gilliam, who found a survey dated back to 1892, which determined the ownership of that particular property. So we now know that the town, what part the town owns and what part Rachel Carson owns, and we actually share the area where the dune grass has been destroyed. And Rachel Carson would like to work with us, and I think we would, I speak for myself, like to work with Rachel Carson. And Rachel Carson, just for our history, does not allow any storage of any items on their dune grass. And the town does not allow overnight storage on its property. So we have, my suggestion, I would like people to come and look at the area, because then you'll understand better what has happened. But this year, very successfully, Jen and a group of people Kate put up stake and twine that protected people's dune grass, and people were very happy with it. And that would be my suggestion of what we do at the west end. But I'm open for other people's thoughts too.
Any comments from any of the other members of the?
I really would be interested in doing that walk when it's possible to walk on the beach
Right.
again.
Of course.
But, you know, I think the other thing that's helped, at least at the east end, but that was on essentially private property, not town property, were those cradles for people to attach their kayaks to. And I would assume that that's probably not necessarily something that will work here if the town, you know, doesn't allow overnight storage on any of its properties. But so that to me would be a possible solution if we could work around that somehow, because instead of people just throwing them willy-nilly, people really use those well at the east end. I think it was very successful. So
They do, Kate, but I think if they use those, then it says you can leave them here. You know,
Yeah,
when
exactly.
you put your kayak there, you think, it's good, I can leave it. So I think that's what you're saying by installing them in the west end.
Right.
John?
If you install them on the seaside of the twine, what would be the disadvantage there? I mean, again, the whole idea is to give someone a place to put kayaks and not put them onto the dune grass.
Carol, is there enough room to get that in between the tide and the grass?
No.
That's why I'd like people to come see it, because it's a river. And
Right.
the river
Can I say
varies.
something? I was asked a couple of months ago to look into this. So I did. And I looked at the same thing that Carol's talking about with Lori. And I went down and I walked it. The problem is with that right of way and with the town, to me, it's still unclear where that delineation is. So I think what's got to happen is somebody's got to go out there and measure it, because there are some that are probably Rachel Carson, and there are some that are maybe related to the town. But I'm with John. If we're on the seaside of the seagrass and we're trying to prevent people from trampling seagrass, then why not do something to prevent them where they can put kayaks? And because the town is not going to be in the removal business of removing kayaks.
Well, here's the problem. The town has this right of way on the west end.
It's a right of way. Yep.
And it also has deeded property, not part of the lawsuit, but deeded property on the east end. The ordinance prohibits the storage of kayaks without the permission of the property owner. The trust has given permission and has put up the racks. If you're going to do racks on the west end, then you have to do them on the east end.
Whoa. Why couldn't we do it on with Rachel Carson's permission? Let's do it on the Rachel Carson property.
They do not allow any storage of anything.
Have we asked them specifically about this?
Carol has.
Carol, did you word it exactly like that? That they would be racks that would be seaside of the dune and which people would place their kayaks? Was
You
that?
need to come, you all need to come see the property. I agree with Mike. The property's difficult. The survey is difficult. When you go to and I'm not a professional person to look at the survey, but when I looked at it, we've already lost 25 feet of dune grass from when the survey was done. My comment, the comment from Rachel Carson, I did not specifically ask for a rack for kayaks, but their comment was that they allow no storage on any dune grass, period.
Oh, exactly. On dune grass, I'm 100%. We wouldn't want that. We're talking about the piece of the land that is seaward of the dune grass.
They would like to have the dune grass that they have lost to come back.
Well, so would we. And as that dune grass grows, because we mark it
You
off.
need to see, John, you need to come see the property.
I think
All
we
right,
all need to
let's see the
look at-
property, but I'd like to talk to Rachel Carson. I believe they'd be more than willing. Because again, the alternative is that people that don't have a place to put their kayaks are going to put them on the dune grass. That's what it was at the main beach, and that's how it will be here, in my opinion.
Why don't we put it up for the next agenda, and between now and then, all of us get down there and take a look at it. And any who want to talk to the representative of Rachel Carson, please do so.
Well, we shouldn't have well, it's up to you, but I don't think we should have a whole lot of people, but
No.
right, yeah.
When you look at it, try to imagine how much of that is caused by erosion, period, versus storing of kayaks. That's what you gotta look. I had a hard time. You'll have a hard time seeing that.
But it's all erosion. The fact is, but the kayaks kill the grass, and the grass then allows the erosion.
I agree with you,
It's all erosion.
but you gotta know, you gotta try to, I couldn't, but maybe Carol could. I couldn't tell what was eroded because of storage of anything versus what was natural as far as the water goes.
Yeah, but again, you can't tell. What we need to do is to have an area to encourage the grass to start to grow back.
Agree with it,
Therefore,
100%.
Prevent from kayak. That's all we need to do is mark that off.
Yeah.
And as that grass starts to grow, then the sand will build up and we'll get the dune back. It's a slow process.
I'm with you. Yeah,
We
I
just
agree.
got to keep the kayaks off of that spot. And if you don't give people a place to put their kayak, they'll put it on the grass.
John, between now and the next meeting, we all should consider whether, if we're going to put racks on the west end, what we're going to do in terms of the town's property on the east end. Are we going to put racks there as well?
I believe the town is not part of this. Well, no, because we're not going to, I would suggest we don't put it on the town property in the west end. We
I
talked to
agree.
Rachel Carson because the town property is minuscule compared to what Rachel Carson has. It'd be very easy to avoid the town property and put it on the Rachel Carson property. Then it's a
Okay,
moot
well,
point.
That means getting the permission of Rachel Carson.
Bingo. And I believe, let me, if you're willing, I just can't believe they would have a problem with that when they see the logic.
Well, then why don't you and Carol talk to Kate O'Brien and follow through? She, in her email, said that she would be cooperative, but she obviously can't go beyond their policy.
Oh, no, exactly. No, this would probably, again, we'll chat with Carol. Are you willing to do that with me?
Yes, I want you to come down and see the property before we do anything else.
We'll come down together. I will do that. I need to help you with sharing the screen anyway, so I'll be there.
Exactly.
Okay, all right, so that's going to be on the next agenda. The next item is
Index here.
a item that beach profiling funding. We've done this every year. It's a request by beach profiling cooperative for a donation of $1,000. And before the Board of Selectmen can vote on it, we have to give our approval to it. So can I have a motion to approve a $1,000 money to the Maine Sea Grant Maine Cooperative Extension, which
So-
is,
So moved.
do
Second,
I have a second?
second. Kate.
Kate?
Yep, second. Oh, aye. I'm voting aye, sorry.
Okay. John?
Aye.
Joanne?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
Jen?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And Richard votes aye. All right, moving right along. We have had at the last meeting, and I believe the meeting before that, some discussion of consolidating signs at Goose Rocks Beach. I realize that people have been pretty busy, and that it's a hard time of the year to decide what we're going to do in terms of this sign. And there's another issue on the agenda which may complicate what the signs will look like next June. But Kate, do you want to take that?
No, not really. We have-
Me either.
With our intensive work on another item on there, I have thank you from John, the name of the graphic designer that he worked with in designing the sign, possible new sign for the water quality. So I will be giving her a call probably right after the holidays, and we'll certainly keep in mind if there are any amendments going forward in, some of the things that are now on the signs. We're going to keep that very much in mind. We're thinking roughly in terms of signs that are perhaps more flexible in terms of, what they relate to instead of being one large sign. So we've got a couple of ideas in mind, and we'll certainly be keeping in mind any changes that might have to be made going forward. We're not going to double expenditures by any means. So I'm looking forward to chatting with Bethany after we get through the holidays and we get through this meeting and the holidays. We should hopefully have something, to at least some progress to report before the next meeting.
If there is a decision to make a change to the town or to our big town sign, you remember that Bethany worked with me on building those stickers, and they worked quite well. And
Right.
rather than having
Yeah.
to print a whole new sign, perhaps a sticker could be developed that would serve the purpose. Just a thought.
That's true. And if we decide to stay with the one very large sign or breaking them out into, trying to consolidate some signs and have some that pertain to certain things like on one post or whatever. So it's very much a work in progress. And obviously if we stay with using those big, beautiful signs, which, I'll talk with her about whether that's the most effective way to convey all the information, or are we better off breaking up the information into particular signs so that people aren't standing there kind of scratching their head.
Just sounds like more signs, but fair enough.
Well, yeah, maybe not, maybe so, maybe more consistent, whatever. This is, as I said, very definitely a work in progress.
Alrighty, the next item is just sort of a heads up. The Conservation Trust and students at the high school are talking about a project which would involve some signs at Goose Rocks Beach, and I assume it would be on town property or maybe the trust property, indicating what the tide levels would be depending on climate change. So it's a student project, and it's now in the, thinking stage. I don't have anything more on it, but there was an email to Lori Smith, just giving her a heads up, and I put it on the agenda just to alert you that there may be something coming down the pike in terms of a student proposal.
More signs, good.
That was my, more signs.
Yeah.
I don't know the extent of it, whether they're
I know.
temporary or what, but it's to sort of educate the public, as I understand it, educate the public what the tide levels might be depending on climate change. And we know that the flood levels have increased, and they're likely to increase considerably in our lifetime, maybe not, but it's certainly there for our kids and grandkids to be concerned about. All right,
Can I say something about that?
sure.
Just to bring to people's attention that the town now we have been working on climate change goals. And we have been working with the Southern Maine Regional Planning Commission. And 2 meetings ago, we had a complete review with them, which showed all of these tide levels and where they were going to be inundating us and so forth, and over the next number of years. And it's sort of stunning. And what we've been trying to do and have been doing as the town of Kennebunkport is coming up with goals and setting priorities for climate change, for solar power, for emissions control, for flood resilience, for downtown and everything else like that. And there's a big study being funded now and underway to evaluate for the town and the area of what we can do about the rising tides. And if those of you who take a look at what's happening downtown with regularity at high tides, with the full moon and storms and so forth, downtown floods regularly. So there's a study going underway now to see what can we do and when can we do it. You can go on the town website, and the town of Kennebunkport climate change goals are there. We've been working on them for the last 3 months. And this is part of it, rising tides. Just thought I'd like to bring that up.
Thanks for that,
Thank you.
Mike.
Thank you.
All right, the next item is a proposed amendment to the dog ordinance. And some of us were around when, on the Beach Advisory Committee, when dog ordinance was amended a number of years ago. And what's changed? Well, more people on the beach, more dogs on the beach, more complaints about dogs on the beach. And on top of that, the piping plovers have decided that they no longer like the West End exclusively, and have gradually moved up the beach to the point where last summer they were at Jeffrey's Way. So that is only other place for them to move further east is Sandpoint. So we have the plovers at the whole beach. There's also the feds in terms of fines for a knowing violation, which is disturbing the nest, injuring, killing a plover. The fine is moved up in 2019 to $52,000. That could impact, as it did in Scarborough, both the dog owner and the town. And for a negligent disturbance and killing or maiming, it is $25,000. Again, it could impact the town as well as the dog owner. So last meeting, we appointed a committee of 4, and that's Kate, Jen, Joanne, and Carol. And I would mention that all 4 of them are dog owners, as am I. And the proposal that they came up with is on the website, the town's website, and has been for a week. And it is a proposal to try and deal with the issue of the plovers, and also the issue of rights of dogs and rights of people. And some of the people who have been complaining are dog owners who say that, their dog is on a leash, and the dog that's not on a leash comes up. And I've experienced it myself. My dog doesn't like other dogs when she's on a leash and the other one is loose. And all of a sudden the teeth are bared. And, there's the issue of the dog owner who says, oh, my dog just wants to play. Well, maybe the people who are walking the beach don't want to play with your dog. And we all know that the issue of voice control is, there are very few dogs that they're on the beach and they see a bird or they see another dog or what have you, respond immediately to the owner. So there were all kinds of issues, and the 4 members of the committee got together and exchanging emails because they weren't able to meet personally. The state law doesn't allow 3 or more people to meet, committee members to meet without public
Right.
notice. But they were able to email, and they've come up with a proposal, and I'm going to turn it over to Kate, who wrote up the summary and the proposal.
Okay, thanks, Richard. As Richard said, all 4 of us that are on this subcommittee, volunteered to be on it, are longtime dog owners and total dog lovers. And we came to this task we were charged with some of us, we had different perspectives. Some perhaps wanting to preserve more freedom, much freedom as possible for the dogs, and others, all of us, however, wanting to keep dogs on the beach. So the challenge was to find compromises that would enable us to do that and still keep in mind the other issues we were charged with looking at, such as the protection of the plovers and other endangered birds, the protection of people, their enjoyment of the beach. And those were the 2 main issues, but we also looked to some extent at enforcement and education. Richard has talked a bit about the plovers issue. It's strictly, since I think somewhere in the 1980s, Goose Rock's Beach has been designated by the federal government, and I believe the state government as well, as an essential habitat for endangered species. Whether we like that or not, that's a fact of life that we have to deal with. And as Richard said, there are serious fines that could be involved and could apply to the town, not just to the owner of a dog or whatever who happened to injure, damage, threaten one of those endangered species. The other issue we looked at, all of us who are on this subcommittee are longtime people at Goose Rock's Beach. 2 of us have been coming here their whole lives, and the other 2 of us have been coming here for a substantial amount of time. So we understand what the beach was as it's evolved and where it is now. In many cases, we see this as it used to be a much less intensively used, more of a local community beach, and where people sort of knew each other and knew each other's dogs. Now we have a much more intensively used beach. People coming from all over the country, sometimes all over the world, to enjoy Goose Rocks Beach. And as a result, we have to look at the beach a little differently now, I think. Unfortunately, most people don't love the thought of making things more complex or regulating, but as the situation gets more complex, unfortunately, that's often where we have to go. We looked at it 5 years ago and put in place what we've got now, which some people find a little complex and maybe more difficult to enforce. We also looked at dogs. You know, we all love dogs. We recognize their need for exercise, but we also recognize the needs of people to be able to use the beach. And we did a lot of talking, you know, not only talking among ourselves, which had to be in a more of a chain thing, as Richard said, by email, et cetera. But we also, you know, various ones of us did research with Maine Audubon and the state. And I know I did some talking with a woman who's a very experienced dog trainer and handler. She actually trains and handles some of Maine's best search and rescue dogs. So we had some interesting discussions about dog behavior and dog interaction, et cetera, there. And, you know, the concept of voice control. Again, as we said, we've received complaints. We look at the complaints from last summer. They weren't, let me say not complaints, it's citations. There have been many more complaints, but the citations last summer to this summer have doubled approximately. And I checked, it is apparently issues, as you might expect, of dogs being on the beach at the wrong time or dogs being off leash at the wrong time and you know, bothering people. So with all of, and then we, as I said, we looked at the enforcement and pretty much, not surprisingly, came up with keep it simple, stupid is the best rule. The easier we can make these rules to enforce, they will also be the easier, hopefully, to educate the public about. And that, you know, hopefully gets us easier voluntary compliance. I've had people say, gee, I've seen people standing at the sign, you know, scratching their head, trying to figure out what's the rule right now, this time of day and this time of the year. Can I take my dog out on the beach and what am I able to do? We've tried to help that a bit by, you know, putting stickers specific to that particular time of year during the most populated time. But overall, the four of us came together with what we think is a viable compromise. We've each, you know, come to it, had given up some of our wishes and, you know, and really worked, I have to say, extremely respectfully throughout. Everybody brought great respect to this and the same goal of trying to come up with a really good compromise that works for the beach, for the people that want to be on the beach, and for the people and for all of us who want to be able to continue to keep dogs on the beach. So with that in mind, what we proposed was essentially in terms of leashed versus off leash. We went with a sort of half the year, which corresponds April 1st to September 15th, corresponds to the season where we have endangered species nesting on the beach or potentially nesting on the beach. And during that period, dogs have to remain on leash. Then the other half of the year from, and I'll give you dates and stuff and more dates in a minute, dogs can be off leash if under voice control. We did carve out a slightly larger time frame in the existing ordinance that exists, that dogs can be off leash, but allows 2 hours a day when they have to be on leash. So people who don't want to be bothered by dogs or whatever can have a walk. We expanded that to 6 hours simply because 2 hours seemed like an awfully short time and you got tides and issues like that, you know, that doesn't, so. All right, so overall, we gave the dogs more time on the beach in many ways. For example, during the height of the visitor season of June 15th through Labor Day, dogs have to be off the beach between 9 and 5, as opposed to 8:30 and 6. So they pick up an extra hour and a half when they can be on the beach, even though they have to be on leash. In addition, under the existing ordinance, they have to stay that daytime period, they have to stay off the beach. That extends all the way through September. Now we're ending that, prohibition about dogs being on the beach during the most part of the day. We're ending that the day after Labor Day. So they pick up an extra month when they can come back on the beach pretty much any time of the day. So the proposed changes are from April 1st to September 15th. Any times that the dogs are allowed to be on the beach, they have to be on leash, and they still have to observe the, say, 200 feet away from nesting areas of endangered or threatened birds. From within that time frame, from June 15th to Labor Day, which is our traditional summer season, dogs have to be off the beach by 9 a.m. and can come back on the beach at 5 p.m. So they picked up an extra month there, and they picked up an hour and a half each day, but they have to be on leash when they're on the beach. And then from September 16th through March 31st, dogs can be on the beach any time of day, but they must be on leash from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Any other time of day, they can be off leash as long as they're under voice/sight control. So in sum, we think that we've tried to reach a compromise where half the year, basically, dogs have to be on leash. And the other half of the year, they can be off leash for a good part of the day, most of the day, actually. And during the height of the, quote, summer season, we've given them more time that they can be on the beach, and shorten the time, given them more time that they can be on the beach, but on leash. We think that this, aside from giving greater protection to the endangered species that we are, charged with protecting, it will also, we have a much more intensively used beach, a much more crowded beach, and we're allowing dogs more time on it when it's busily used, but just saying you have to be on leash. So you can't go bopping over to visit that person or whatever. I mean, in talking with the dog trainer, even she with her highly trained dogs have said, gee, you get them out on the beach and it's almost impossible for a dog to really truly be under voice control. There are very few. And I'll be blunt, I have never seen one out there, even my own dogs, period, who I say they're under food control more likely. They might actually come to me because I have treats in a pocket. I'll be happy to answer any questions or expand anything on that.
So let's have a discussion amongst ourselves before we open it to the public, and let's raise your hand virtually or just raise your hand and I'll recognize you, but let's not talk over each other. Kate, let me just start with one issue that I hadn't focused on before. The current ordinance has dogs on leash after 6 o'clock all year round. And the reason for that was...
No. It's after leash, after 6 in the summertime, they have to be on leash as opposed to the current.
Not in the winter.
Yeah, in the winter, in winter, they're allowed to be,
Yeah, no, I agree. In winter, they do not have to be on leash after 6.
I'm reading the thing now from October 1st through March 31st, 12 to 2 leash required. All other hours of the day leash or under voice and sight control.
Right.
So no, that's not true after 6 o'clock. They did not need to be leashed.
Yeah.
Okay, I stand corrected, but the issue is after 6 o'clock. I guess in the summertime, you're saying they will be on leash from 5 o'clock till what, 6 till?
They'll always be on leash.
Always on leash. Okay, all right.
Including mornings. They'll always be on leash. In the
Okay.
summertime, they are never off leash.
Okay, scratch that. So, who has a comment? Anybody on the committee? Jen?
Yeah, I will agree with Kate that I think the four of us really worked very hard on it. And it was hard because we really did come from very different perspectives, you know, in terms of how much dogs should be able to be off leash. And it was, I will say for myself, who has a big dog that I take down and throw a ball for a lot, it was difficult for me to compromise on saying, okay, in the summer, we're not going to go have any off leash time. However, I understand it, and I was willing to compromise because of the piping plover issue and the fact that there have been an incident in Scarborough where a big fine was paid out, and that the cost, you know, therefore to the town and individuals, if there was a piping plover incident, you know, is substantial. So, you know, I think that was why I was willing to make that compromise, though not happily, but I get it. And so, and I think, you know, we've arranged some compromises that at least the time allowed on the beach in the summer and spring, at least is longer. And that was the compromise we reached. That yes, we have to keep the dogs on a leash, but at least we get a little more time.
Mike? You're muted, Mike.
Here. I have a question regarding 6:15 to Labor Day. I don't have an issue with it. I just want a clarification. Are we saying it says dogs must be off the beach by 9 a.m. and may return to the beach at 5 p.m. on leash? So up to 9 a.m. is off leash?
No, not in the
Okay,
summer.
then you need to make that clear,
Well, it
because the
said-
way it reads to me is it's not on leash.
Well,
Well,
read the paragraph above. At any time, the dogs are allowed on the beach, must be on leash from 4:1 to 9:15.
But if you're rewriting the ordinance,
So you want to include that there just to be clear.
yeah, yeah, that's all I'm saying, because somebody's gonna take this now and put this into a new written ordinance,
Agreed.
get it to the town by the 31st of December.
Right.
So I just make sure that it's clear. I don't have any problem with anything. Just, I want to make it clarified, that's all.
Okay, will do.
Anyone else on the committee? If not, Mike, do we have any people in the audience who want to speak?
Yeah, you got Carol Morris. Stand by. All right. Go ahead, Carol.
Hey, folks.
Hi,
So-
Carol. Would you just tell us where you live, where your property is?
Yep. My name is Carol Morris. I live on High Tide Road in Kennebunkport. So I'm all in favor of compromise, but I do feel that the last ordinance really, although, you know, you can talk technicalities and say that there was a more harsh ordinance in terms of dogs earlier, but it wasn't ever enforced. So when the last ordinance went through, it definitely reduced the amount of time that folks could have their dogs on the beach, leashed and unleashed. So this is yet another quote compromise that actually continues to reduce the time that people can have their dogs on the beach. So as a dog owner who goes to the beach occasionally with my dog, I will just say that I am personally, as a citizen, against this, and that as it goes through the process, respectfully, I will be against it, and I will try to organize with folks against it, because I don't really see that you have reached out to a broad component of the population to find out, you know, how many people really want more dogs and how many don't. We all know that anti-dog folks are vocal. In this case, I think you'll find when you go out with this ordinance that the other folks are vocal as well. So anyway, appreciate all the work you guys have done. I just wanted to give you my opinion on what will happen if this goes forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol, at least 5 of us are dog owners. I know one at least one member is a former dog owner. As I understand what Kate proposed in the subcommittee proposed, they're actually allowing more time for the dogs on the beach than less time. The issue is dogs off leash. That's really the only issue. Dogs off leash, and making the ordinance simpler to understand and simpler to enforce.
And Richard, I agree that the ordinance as it stands now is confusing. No question about that. But to me, I would never walk my dog on a leash. My dog is not the kind of dog that gets the kind of exercise he needs off leash. I mean, excuse me, on leash.
Take it elsewhere.
So that's just the way I personally feel about it. Being able to walk my dog on a leash is not valuable to me.
Well, okay, there are certainly other places than Goose Rocks Beach in Kennebunkport to walk your dog off leash. Conservation Trust properties.
Yes, and Richard, I use those frequently. But as I said when I testified, or however, whatever you want to call it, on this issue 5 years ago, one of the reasons that I love living here and enjoy living here is the proximity to the water. And walking on the beach is a privilege that I love, and I like to take my dog with me.
Yeah, Carol, I've been coming here for 51 years. Owned property here for 49 years. As Kate said, the Goose Rocks has changed. It's changed in terms of the number of people, number of dogs, where the people come from, and how many people respect their neighbors. So, it's a changing situation. And I'm afraid what you're not taking into consideration is what the town is faced with. The beach is an endangered species sanctuary, and we have no control over the plovers and the least terns. They come and go as they please. And it turns out they just happen to like Goose Rocks Beach. So they are inhabiting it from the west end to the east end. And we have to take that into consideration. And unfortunately, it may impinge on your ability to let your dog run loose, because what we have now is something like an hour and a half in the morning that the dog would be off leash in the summertime, in the season. And it doesn't take much for a dog to destroy a nest or kill a bird. And they're certainly going to be inquisitive. My dog would be if it was off leash. And so what we're taking, if you want to talk about taking it away, we're taking away an hour and a half in the morning in the summertime. You still have a half a year that you can have your dog off leash till noontime every day.
Carol, if I may for 1 second, believe me, everyone on the committee that finally came up with this compromise did come from a wide disagreement in the beginning. The plovers topped everything, and what you're actually losing on the beach is your off-leash time for that hour and a half. Your actual time on the beach with the dog has increased by a month, and it's increased by an hour and a half every day.
Right.
So you actually have more time on the beach, but sadly, due to the endangered species and the plovers and that, what we have lost, what we have had to compromise and give up, is that wonderful hour and a half in the morning when they can be off leash for half the year. And that hour and a half has been replaced with an additional hour and a half that they can be on the beach, but on leash. And I understand that you'd prefer not to use the leash, but the plovers trumped everything. So there's.
John?
Yeah, I've got the inference, but I'd like to hear if it's clearly stated if a plover nest was disturbed and we did not have a specific ordinance as a town saying dogs must be on a leash, would that make the town liable for the damage to the nest?
It apparently was the case in Scarborough, and they did change their ordinance, and they have areas where dogs are not permitted during the season when plovers are there. But
Well,
goose frogs,
we've always had areas where they're not permitted, but we still say that they can be off leash, so do we have to have the ordinance say they must be on leash in order not to share liability for damage as a town?
I don't know the
That would be important for me to know. It certainly make my decision easier.
well, the statute is sort of vague in terms of what's an intentional disturbance or killing, and I think they talk about they use the term taking, which would be disturbing the nest, maiming, or killing, and intentional is defined pretty broadly. And that's how Scarborough got into their problem a number of years ago. So
Why were they seen as intentional? Because they didn't have a restriction in place?
because they allowed the dogs to run loose.
They didn't have a leash restriction in place.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
And yes, it is the issue of the plovers. It's also the issue that we deal with all the time is it a dog beach or is it a people beach? And dog owners say, well, it is a beach for people and dogs, and people say, hey, I want to be on the beach, but I don't love your dog and I don't want it near me. And we've had people knocked over, and we have one local resident of Goose Rocks who is perpetually complaining, and rightfully so. When she's on the beach, her dog is on a leash, and she doesn't want to have another dog approach it. And you've heard me say that I had a situation this past summer. It was not on the beach, but it was somebody who decided it was okay to walk with his dog off leash. The dog wouldn't pay any attention when it decided it wanted to befriend my dog, and my dog didn't want to befriend it. And all of a sudden, we had a hassle.
Richard, can I go back and say it's neither?
Jen have her hand up first.
Okay.
Joanne, and I'll come, and you're next. Jen?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that we always have to remember there are two different issues, and that one is enforcement. There can always be people on the beach who are not obeying the rules, and that's a separate issue. I mean, if it is the time when you're not supposed to have your dog off leash and they are, or your dog is not under voice control, which again is imperfect, but it's not under good enough voice control that they will come and they jump on somebody, then the problem is with that dog owner, and then there needs to be some kind of enforcement. So there's separate issues to what are the rules of when you can have a dog loose on the beach or loose beach and all that. So, there may be complaints that are happening when people are just they're just breaking the rules. If somebody
My concern is liability.
Yeah.
Okay, one at a time.
jumping on you,
One at a
then
time.
you are breaking the rule no matter what.
Okay, but
Joanne?
No, go ahead, Kate.
okay. I did have a discussion with Lori because I was interested about issues of liability, not only, particularly post litigation, not only about again the town, both in terms of injury to an individual or an injury to an endangered species. And she was very clear to me that and I think I even sent my email back to her to make sure I was quoting her correctly to the other members of the subcommittee, that their bigger concern is liability with regard to the endangered species. So they've seen, I think what happened in Scarborough, and the fact that having in place an ordinance that does the best the town can do, at least puts in place rules that say, these are designed, you cannot have your dog loose because we have to protect these species, buys the town a lot of protection against liability. And that's a big issue, particularly because we don't want to have endangered species killed, but also because the fines for it keep going up, have gone up considerably, more than doubled, even to the level of perhaps just negligence, the 25,000 apparently, as opposed to intentional harming, which is way higher. So yes, from that standpoint, I think that putting in place a leash, and I know Joanne and Jen, that's been a big factor for them in the compromise we came to, that we do need to look at liability to the town, as well as don't want to, endanger these, further endanger these already threatened species. So going to the on leash during that April to September 15th timeframe, and we appreciate that.
Jim?
First of all, I want to compliment the committee. I think it wasn't easy. They did a terrific job dealing with a lot of the issues, and a thorough one. I've been here for 56 years, believe it or not, and owned for 52, and had 3 dogs during that time. So I have one question I just want to raise, and I raise it only for simplicity of the rules and regulations. And that is the September 15th ending point, and wondering whether or not everything ought to be September 15th, or everything ought to be Labor Day or the day after Labor Day, because we got 2 different September dates there. And I'm just trying to make it even a little simpler for those of us who are kind of thick-skulled.
Well, I think,
I'll take that one.
okay.
We did have a big discussion on this, and I do understand it's a 2-week thing, but let me tell you, the amount of compromises that were made, we would strongly prefer not to compromise another 2 weeks. Everyone, let me tell you, I have a front row view. Everyone is back on the beach with their dogs Labor Day weekend. So if you're talking about enforcing, then it's a 2-week period that they're there anyways. I'll tell you right now, they're there anyways.
Yeah, but they have to be, the first and foremost statement is they have to be on leash.
I agree, and they are not currently.
Yeah,
So,
and I understand Jim's question, and John had raised it too in the.
I do as well, but part of our compromise only went so.
I'm totally there with you. I'm just saying, I think we can explain this clearly enough, hopefully, in whatever, if this passes, in whatever signage or education, that hopefully people will be able to figure out those 2 weeks. Okay, so they can come back on the beach during the middle of the day earlier, but they still have to be on leash.
Yeah, okay.
What I don't understand is what would be the downside of moving the first paragraph, the 9:15, and have it be Labor Day? I can appreciate, I can appreciate you don't want to have the dogs off the beach. You don't want to lose those 2 weeks where the dogs can't be on the beach. But what's the downside of moving, saying 4/1 to Labor Day, etc.?
Birds, John. Birds.
Birds, yeah.
Are those 2 weeks that critical for birds?
They feel
Carolyn,
they
really?
are. They feel they are. That's the last 2 weeks to ensure that all the birds who are going to head south have done so. They start earlier, certainly, but they're not all gone by Labor Day. But they are all gone by the 15th. You'll have to take that up with the birds.
Yeah, in
Okay.
addition to the plovers, John, which generally are gone, as Carol she's more of an expert on this than I, but that they're generally gone by the end of August, but we still have some that stick around, and we also have migratory birds that use this as an essential stopping point too. So as opposed to, ideally, I think Audubon would probably like it to go to the end of September still, the on-leash time, and we've compromised on saying, no, we'll back it up. And even further, let dogs on the beach any time of day as long as they're on leash. But so that's kind of why, that's sort of an explanation as to why we went to September 15th, which was giving up about half the month. But
Uh, Judy?
Judy who?
Hello?
Hello? Yes.
Yes.
Now, I think. Yeah, Judy Carello at 35 Kings Lane. I wanted to thank the committee for their work. I think must have been very difficult to come to this compromise, but as someone who has been going to Goose Rocks Beach, like many of you, for 50-odd years, I've noticed in the past 10 years or so that walking on the beach, which I do practically every day, has become less enjoyable because of the dogs. And I support fully the decisions that you have come with. The idea that they have to be on leashes is a great. I cheered when I heard that, when you said that. I have to say it was. Because I've had dogs jump on me, I don't think that the safety officers can control the numbers of people with dogs on the beach, even though they walk the beach early in the morning. So I just wanted to thank you. I think your decisions are given as you said, the numbers of people and dogs on the beach these days, especially in summertime, very necessary change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Judy. Mike, is there anyone else who wants to speak? I see that, aside from us, there are about 15 or 16 other people who are online.
No other comments, no blue hands.
Okay, any other comments from the members of the committee?
I just
Joanne?
want to say, one thing we knew even before we started this, that a key part of this whole thing was going to be enforcement and education of people. We had some discussions on that, but believe me, we did not get there yet. So going forward, we're going to continue to discuss that. And believe me, if anyone has an epiphany and would like to share on how to enforce and how to educate people, we are all ears.
Yep.
So share that, because we talked and I'm not sure we can, I don't know how to make people care. I don't know how to make people responsible with their dogs.
Mhm.
So help.
Yeah.
Well, I think one thing, Joanne, is that you've recommended an ordinance that's simpler to understand and simpler to enforce. So hopefully the enforcement will follow through.
Well, we'll see.
Just a word on, I agree about, if we don't, no good having anything unless we get it enforced. And the only thing I would encourage is whatever the board ultimately accepts, that they, when we have these summer agents on the beach, that maybe when they hire them with a kind of a time schedule that facilitates the enforcement to go along with whatever guidelines the board of selectmen finally accepts.
Anything else before we vote? And the vote would be to recommend to the Board of Selectmen that they adopt the proposal from the subcommittee and put it on the ballot for the June election. No other comments? Do I have a motion to make the recommendation to the Board of Selectmen?
So moved.
Yeah. Second.
Any comments? We have a motion that's moved and seconded. Any comments from any of the members of the committee?
Nope.
Okay. On the motion, Kate,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Joanne,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
Jen,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Richard votes aye. Unanimous. So if Kate, if you could get together with with Lori, or,
Well,
it's a terrible time of the year to impose on her. She's got a lot on her plate, but I think what we need to do is to get it in a form that it's an amendment to the existing
Yeah.
ordinance.
I will. I'll put it in that format. We'll go back and look at the ordinance and say what sections have to change, et cetera.
Just do a strike over first, that's
Okay.
all. Just do a strike over. That's the best way to do it, and that's the way we look at it. So if you can take the current ordinance and just strike through it, put the changes in it, do it that way.
Mike,
Good
you have
idea.
way higher expectations of my
Good idea.
technological ability. I'll find somebody who can help me do that, though.
I can help with that. I know how to do
Okay,
that.
Good.
And I'm sure John knows how to do that
That's
as,
that's all right. It
as
sounds
well.
like you got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but we need to do it in the next few
I'll get it
days.
done in the next couple of days.
Okay, and we can expect that the Board of Selectmen will want one or more of us to appear when they consider it and hold a public hearing on it.
Okay. That sounds fine.
Great. Any other business?
The only thing, wait a minute, one little thing on that, just in case anybody has walked by the general store lately and noticed that our beautiful new bulletin board that we authorized and put up this summer or spring is missing. It is still in existence. Unfortunately, when I went to take the last pieces of paper off, the whole plexiglass inside, like we fell right off. So I've been back in touch. Tim Lebrecht came back, took it down, took it back, has repaired it all. And I said, look, there's no point in putting it back up right now. He's going to store it for us. Carol knows how to get in touch with him in case I get hit by a bus and nobody knows where to find it. And in the spring, he will come and reinstall it. There's no point in letting it sit there through all the weather that we're going to have this winter, because I don't think there's going to be anybody looking to read anything on it until March or April.
Carol?
I just want to add a couple of things to tell people about the new stop sign that the town put in at Dyke Road and Kings, which, thank you very much. I think it's working very well. And also want to mention that we're going to, thanks to John Dykstra, we're going to have recycling starting in January. Yes.
Yay.
And
Hey.
whole committee, but it's going to be fun in January 9th. We'll have our open house. There'll be a mailing coming out about that.
Great.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? I see that the numbers have been changed on Kings Highway. Some of the houses have changed them and some of them haven't. It's a little bit confusing, but I guess it's progress.
I think it's a matter to refer to the Board of Selectmen.
There you go. We don't have to deal with that.
I'm not sure the Board of Selectmen were totally on board in this, or they didn't initiate it.
Yeah.
So don't blame them.
I'm not blaming them, I'm just saying refer to them.
Anything else other than setting a date for a next meeting?
Except everybody have happy holidays and stay well.
Stay safe.
When do you want to meet again?
Are we still able to meet via Zoom in January?
Yes.
I assume that we'll be on Zoom for the next few months, especially given the number of COVID cases. I think it was something like 551 today.
Oh,
I'm
I
90.
thought it was close to
590, I think.
90.
really close to
590.
And
That's
Massachusetts,
551 the day before and 590. Yeah.
There were 9 deaths,
Yeah,
9 more deaths.
including one of somebody at Goose Rocks.
oh,
There was
Yeah.
one in York County. Was that Goose Rocks?
Well, I don't know about, this happened actually a little bit, do you know Bob and Marilyn Grace, Gerace, G-E-R-A-C-E? They live on Skyline. They're right next to Bob Convery. And unfortunately, they had a gathering, I gather your kids, et cetera, for Thanksgiving, and 4 members, I think it's 4 members of the family came down with COVID after that, and Marilyn unfortunately passed away.
You're saying next to Bob Convery, is it on Community House Road?
No, it's the first house up past him on Skyline, the one that just put a second story on.
Oh, they're from Connecticut.
They're from
Yeah.
Connecticut, yeah. So, yeah, very sad.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's scary. It's very scary.
So, a date for a meeting. I mean, do you want to meet in January or February? We have elections coming up. I don't know whether Jim has finally decided whether he's going to run or not run for the seat. I cannot. I'm term limited.
No one's ever asked me. They don't want me to run anyway.
No, Jim, you don't have to commit now, but just saying that there's one beachfront and one backlot seat that there's an election for.
I need to go in my basement and consult with my campaign manager.
Okay. So, what's your pleasure? January, February?
Do we have an issue that needs to be discussed? The dog ordinance was our huge push for December because we wanted to get it in front of the Board of Selectmen. But if there's nothing coming up, let's push this off.
I would agree. February sounds right to me.
Yeah,
March.
February?
yeah. We're gonna need some time, or you and Carol, just to go walk that property, at the west end of the beach, and
Yeah.
for us to get to, I think the other thing is the signage, which that'll give us, or at least.
Little time.
Sure. Yeah, you and, that's right, you're on that one too. You and me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, depending on availability of dates and availability of Mike and Dave, let's say middle to end of February, and I'll try and find a date and let you all know.
Perfect,
That's fine. My social calendar is totally open.
perfect.
Okay,
Planning on doing any
My
travel.
social calendar is open too, so.
Yeah.
so stay well, stay
You
safe.
should stay safe.
Happy holidays to all
Merry
of you.
Christmas. Yeah, happy holidays.
All right,
Happy
thank you.
holidays, everybody.
Bye.
Mike,
Bye.
thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.
Wait, go away now. Oh, there I am. Leave. Okay. Hello.